right. It looks like we're on now. All right. Well, on my side of the world, it's good morning. Where are you out of anyway, Jose?
I'm in Silver Spring, Maryland. I work in Chevy Chase, so it's like all here, Montgomery County, Maryland, essentially.
So you're in Maryland. We're in California. So would you be considered East Coast time? Are you 3 hours ahead
Oh
or
yeah,
Central?
yeah.
Yes.
I'm noon right now.
You're at noon. We're at 9, and we were chit chatting a little bit right before I got on that I was in that zone, in that time zone. I've been there for over a week, and it's jet lag sucks, bro. So it's I get home and I had some issues with the flights this time. One flight got canceled because I guess there was hurricanes going on in Houston, Texas, so we couldn't land. So they put me on the next flight, and I had to fly into Chicago, which I've never been to. And when they say it's the Windy City, when you're coming in on an airplane, man, a small one on top of it, they're not kidding, man. That was a roller coaster ride to go land, but we made it safe, and here we are. So we got a few people coming on, so I think I'll formally introduce you. Now, this has been, we've never got to shake hands, I don't think. Did we shake hands at a Maya show ever?
We have one time at the Maya Super Show. I saw your tattoos and I approached you because I was really sleeved up myself, as you can see. And I was like, this is my kind of guy. So I spoke briefly.
I thought that, I was looking through the Maya show the other ways, and I'm racking my brain going, I really think, I think we have shook hands
right
on at the Maya show, because I believe that's probably where we saw each other. So for all you guys that are listening, this is Jose Escobar, and he is an avid book reader for sure. That's what kind of intrigued me about him. And, I've got to watch his journey a little bit on consulting and being a keynote speakers at several things. And so this is how our friendship has formed. And it's been more of an online friendship than face-to-face. But I guess that's the beauty of, that's the curse of the internet and the love of the internet. It's got a good side and it's got a bad side. It's just, like we're sitting here. You're in Maryland. I'm in California. I'm in California, and the other one of my guys was in Papua New Guinea. One of the ministers that I did one day. That's a black belt of mine. That's right in the middle of the jungle. I mean, think about that. In the middle of the jungle of Papua New Guinea, he's doing ministry, and we're talking back and forth while he's in his hut. It's amazing. Technology is, but on the same token, tell me if you don't agree now. And I'm a little older than you are. So, I'm 60 years old. I think you've got babies now, right? So you have a wife, and how many children you have?
Four children, 1 boy and 3 girls. I'm 38, so I'm not that far behind you, I don't think.
Well, I look a little younger than I really am, because I raised 3 boys and a girl, and then I had an adopted son, Bo. I don't know if you know Bo DeRocher, if you got to meet him, one of my boys. I adopted him when he was 12. So, but all my kids are grown and in college, and so I'm 60. So I'm a little bit ahead of you as far as that goes, but I've seen that you've got some babies and you've got girls.
Yeah,
I've got 1 girl. 3 girls is, I'll tell you, I don't know, having a school and being a real type A type of personality like myself. And I was hardcore martial arts instructor back in the day. And then I started getting softer when my kids came along, and then my daughter came along, and then, then I'm mush, you know what I mean? She just completely changed my heart. So it was, to have 3 of them, to have 3 daddy's girls,
it's definitely a different experience. I'll tell you that. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, but it's definitely something else.
Yeah. But I'm going to tell you something. As your children get older, and I can see what kind of father you are, and I believe you're a believer too.
100%.
Yes, and being that kind of a dad and that role model, the bond that you're going to have with your children as they become adults is, it's been fun. It's been fun being a father with adult children. And so I've learned. I was a divorced dad, but it looks like you have a strong family. And I raised my children. I was a single dad that raised the kids. So, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that without the Lord either. Because I'm just I'm just a sinner like the rest of them, I guess, is what
That's
I'm trying to say.
strong testimony there.
That's so it's been something. All right. So let's talk about yourself, Jose. You can see in the background all these books, and I can't turn mine around, but I've got quite a collection myself. And I was one of those guys that you might want to call a book collector because, yeah, I'm gonna read that, and it's gonna look good on my shelf,
Yeah.
right? And then I had all these aspirations to do it, and then I would do, if I read maybe a book a year, I would be shocked, maybe 10 years ago, right? I'm a big leadership type of book. I've done the Bible a couple times through, the 1 year Bible. I've done that a couple times, you know what I mean? Going through the Bible in a year.
Yep.
And then I would try, and I'm really good at listening to books. I'm on listening most of the time, whether it's podcasts or audiobooks or whatever. And I think, I don't know, how do you do with audiobooks? Do you like them or?
So I am not opposed to audiobooks. I think if I had to go the audio route, it would be a podcast like yours, for example. I would rather listen to the interview, the freestyle mode, as opposed to something that's structured like a book. Like for me, physical books is like a comparison of like going to the gym and doing free weights versus resistance machines. The resistance machines don't incorporate a lot of different muscles at the same time as if you were to read a physical book. As you can tell, I prefer a physical book just because it stimulates, all the auditory, the visual, the hearing, the everything. You got to vocalize. Like I read out loud. So when I read out loud and I see the words and I hear the words and I even write in the book and I start engaging with the book, the kinesthetic piece, it's a much more efficient way to memorize the content and to engage with the content and to walk away in a much better place. That's just my personal opinion.
That's interesting that you say that. That I've never heard that before. That you read out loud, and I guess it's harder to fall asleep when you read out loud. I can imagine.
It keeps me much more engaged because I'm listening to myself, and we all know we love our own voice, right?
Yeah, well, I would say that that's the number one thing that people, I went and got myself a coach for podcasting because I really wanted to take it to a different level. And that's one of the things he told me, because I listen to my podcast after I'm done, because it drives me crazy when I keep hearing and in. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I, But the coach told me too. He goes, that's real talk. That's how people engage back and forth. So it's not, you can polish yourself, but you can't be so polished that they never come out.
Absolutely.
So that was coaching, but that's interesting. I kind of wish we'll talk about 75 Hard in a minute, but I wish I had that thought process when I was doing 75 Hard to read the book out loud. That's interesting. I think I'm going to try that next time because I'm kind of in the middle of 75 Hard right now because a bunch of guys did it, but I'm really never off 75 Hard. See, that's the problem. And so we'll talk about that whole 75 Hard in a minute because I want to talk about more in this book's in depth, and then we'll talk more about that. But now I want to ask you a question. So, well, first of all, what's your favorite book?
Oh, that's an easy one. I had some lined up right next to me in case you asked certain questions, and this is one of them. So probably this one, Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club. It is, of course, it's Think and Grow Rich. And I have some other, amazing books that I love that are considered classics. But to give you a book that most people don't necessarily consider a classic or something that everybody has to read, this one, surprisingly, hasn't been read by most people like Think and Grow Rich. But it's something that can literally change your game overnight. And it talks about, 5 a.m., waking up at 5 a.m. and the importance of the morning routine and what should you be doing in your morning routine? What does it consist of? And it's just a really powerful book. And again, as far as how often you read books, I personally read about a book a week. And I think the average CEO reads 60 books a year. I'm not quite there yet. I'm at 52. But it's like, for example, reading one book is like eating one potato chip. I heard that quote somewhere, so you want to get into the position of reading books on a regular basis and devouring it, whether it's 10 minutes a day, whether it's 10 pages a day, like 75 Hard, or whether it's 30 minutes a day or an hour a day, like I do. I do 30 minutes in the morning, I do 30 minutes in the evening, and I don't miss that. Sometimes I do a little more if I have lunchtime or in between, because a book is my everyday carry. Everywhere I go, I have a book in my hand, and you just find time in the nooks and crannies of your day to read.
Yeah, and that's here in California. I don't know where it is like in Maryland, but how in my immediate vicinity. So I'm in Los Angeles County, but I'm in a suburb called Chatsworth, and then I live in another little one called Simi Valley, and there's only one book store that is within a 15 to 20 mile radius of me. One. There's one Barnes and Noble that's called Westlake, California, and that's it. All the Barnes and Nobles, all these bookstores that we used to go to that we just took for granted that we go to all the time, you sit and look through books or magazines, they're just not there. And I guess it's hard because you got to compete with Amazon at this point, because they won't do this Barnes and Noble won't do any kind of price comparison. So when you're in there and you're like, you got this physical book and it's going to be $12 more than what Amazon's going to pay for it. I mean, who's going to really sit there and go pay for the book unless you want it right then and there? You need it for something. So unfortunately here, bookstores are such a thing of the past. And we talk about the Bible too. And these gadgets, these iPads and stuff, I cannot stand reading books on them. Yeah. They drive me crazy. And, I don't know if my kids are feeling different because that's how they were raised, but I haven't asked them that question. But not being able to write notes, especially in the Bible, right? It's things that, and then to me, when you're writing in these books, it was pretty awesome for me is that I love if I had my grandfather's books or something that he wrote and you see his handwriting inside the book, that for something and that particular piece of time in his life right there, that meant something to him big time. And he wrote these notes down. And so you get a little glimpse of what they are thinking at that time or what they're learning for themselves. And I think that, I'm sure you've seen it too. If you've gone in, I don't know if you're a book collector or, the old books, I like really old books and stuff like that. So if I find them, certain things, I'll get those. I've always been intrigued. If you ever watch me, I'm really intrigued on super old cemeteries that are 200-300 years old, books that are 100 years old. That kind of stuff intrigues me because there's a history, and to think that this book has been here over 150 years, that somebody wrote this, and it's still viable today in our world when they couldn't even imagine what we have in our SNES, right? So, books have always been kind of an intriguing thing. And I've never been one. I'm nowhere near how many books you read. I almost have to be on 75 Hard in order to get through books, to be honest with you. I like to skim books. That's my, unfortunately, and then you miss everything. Or you're reading, see this outline, or I'm reading, and then all of a sudden I'm dozing off and I got to go back and reread, and it just drives me crazy. And so I think that listening to one of these tips that you just gave would be good. Talking about that, so being an avid reader, what do you have? How do you encourage somebody just to pick up something and have that start?
Yeah, I just had a buddy of mine reach out to me the other day. I have people reach out to me all the time, whether it's a text or a private message or whatever, asking me about what should I be reading, where do I start, how do I increase what I'm reading, how do I engage with the book in a deeper level, all these types of questions. And but just for the very basic question, first of all, I think marginalia in a book is powerful. Like how you read a book, it's not about how many books you get through, it's about how many books get through to you, right? So it's about how you're reading the book versus just reading the book. So I look at it as like having a dialogue, a conversation with the author. I will put my own thoughts and my own perspectives in the book. Like, for example, here, you see a little note there, underlining, we go deeper, there's a lot of that. There's all these little notes and sticky things in here and whatever. In the front of the book, I have my own index that I create. So that right there has the page and what stood out to me. So for example, here it says page 99, right? So if I go there, it tells me right here, one line: consistency is the DNA of mastery. That's what I wrote down. So I go to page 99 and I have this little sticky note here, and it's right here. It talks about, it's you have to optimize daily. Consistency really is the DNA of mastery, and small daily, seemingly insignificant improvements, when done consistently over time, yield staggering results. And he goes on. But I know there's only 30% of this book that matters. And I dissect that. I know where these things are. I highlight, I underline, I annotate, I put my own comments. I might even put a LOL sometimes, but whatever it is, to speak to what you said, a lot of these books here in this area are annotated just like this. And something that one day I'd like to do is pass that on to my kids, and they can hold on to what I was thinking when I was 38 or when I was 42 or 27, whatever it may be. And again, if it's a really good book, then it never truly gets its message across, because it's always going to speak to you at different stages in your life. So what I'm reading in this book right now, I'll get a different piece of it 5 years from now, and it'll speak to me again 10 years from now. It'll even speak to me when I'm 80, because of the content and the value that's in this type of book.
So that book here that you said, the 5 a.m. Club, I'm a big Jocko fan.
Me too.
And, he's up at the crack of dawn every day, 4:30. It doesn't matter if he goes to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, he's up at 4:30. He speaks about that. So this is an interesting book to see about the 5 a.m. Club. I think I'm going to end up getting that today for sure. I'll order that today because I'll take a look at that, and I'll put that on my 75 hard list to get started. And so when I'm looking, I think I don't know. I don't know anybody, especially today, Jose. Maybe what you should do is I know that I would tune in if you just did a simple Zoom call on your entrepreneur bookshelf on how to annotate books and how to really do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if people really know how to do that. I know that I can see your notes and stuff like that, but having somebody that does it a lot of times and say, hey, let's, here's something simple. Let's get a simple book. We do this together and we do that together. I think that would be a powerful Zoom to go through that. And because I think that could help me help students. I have a manual here of all my history and everything else. You'd be shocked on how many people don't read it. I told them, why don't you just put it in the bathroom so you at least have one day a week or one time a day that you can look at it, for crying out loud. Yep. You know what I mean? Because I've spent all this time on the history of my martial arts and all the stuff that we've gone through in this manual and stuff like that. And I would say, I'm not exaggerating, 95% of them do not read it at all. Yeah. It's just, they just kind of go through the motions of what it is, and they never really connect. But, I've learned a lot of stuff just in these we're 18 minutes here with you on how that I can help somebody else get through some readings of some books. Because, the next thing that I'm doing with the book is I just did this little warrior code thing that you saw on Jocko's field manual. And if you ever watch Jocko's podcast, he reviews these books and he goes through them. And then he's got, Echo Charles is with him. So I'm having another Marine that's going to come. So I'm going to have a martial arts look and a military guy. And then we are going to actually have some kids on this podcast with us as we go through and review the field manual for warrior kids.
That's awesome.
And so I reached out to Jocko and told him, hey, this is what I want to do. And I didn't get to talk to him, but his main girl. And I said, what I'd like to do is be able to give these kids some kind of a signed book from Jocko himself if they go through this program. I want a boy and a girl to do it, and then give them a signed copy. And I never heard from him, but in the mail, here comes 2 signed copies from Jocko.
Are you serious?
Yes, I have 2 signed copies of kids' books for cool. Jocko as I'm going to go and renew that field manual. So, I have a love for books just like you do. It's just that, and I think that's another way for me, I know that I would enjoy seeing you get on and say, hey, let's take a look on how to do this. Let's take a simple book, get together. I know that I will be on top of that thing, and I would encourage other people to come and look and say, hey, let's take a look on how to really do this by somebody that does it all the time. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth. But if that sounds like something that could be up your alley, I know that I'd be engaged. I'm sure Jason Flame would be engaged with that also.
Yeah. Actually, that you mentioned that, something that I'm working on actively right now is digital courses, right, under the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf. So the first one that's going to launch, that just filmed, got completed, is the morning and evening routine mastery. So for me, the morning and evening routine has been something I've been at for like a little over 2 years now, 2.5 years ish, and trying to get a strong system, right? So it kind of stemmed from this book. It kind of stemmed from this book here, Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And the list goes on and on. Jocko Willink had some influence into this, and some others, notable folks, John Maxwell. But the idea is I picked up different things from different people, different conventions and seminars I've been to, mentors who've given me advice, and these books that I've read, and podcasts, and the list goes on. And I kind of formulated my own version of what a strong morning and evening routine should be comprised of. So that's going to be my first digital course, where it's going to be a paid program. But some other programs that I'm going to be launching is how to effectively read a book, right? How to create your index, how to do the marginalia effectively in terms of the notes and underlining and highlighting the sticky notes and all that good stuff. Another course is going to be on how to effectively do the commonplacing. So there'll be a actual course on commonplacing, which is something that most authors have done, like Ryan Holiday, John Maxwell, Ronald Reagan. Anytime somebody writes a book, or they are preparing for a speech or a talk or whatever, you can just go to your commonplace book, which in most cases is like a storage unit of index cards. And anytime I see a powerful quote or a powerful idea or a poem or a statement or a stat or whatever, I'll take a card, and I'll actually give you a little inside view there. You see that?
Yes, I see that.
So this is the system here that I have, and it's literally a cabinet with index cards, and it's categorized by, for example, discipline, habits, business, reading. So it has like all these different categories, and I'll just categorize it in certain ways. So whenever I need to prepare a talk or anything, I need to know what I'm going to be talking about, and then I can reference whatever the heck I need, which is pretty cool. So that's another thing that's coming soon. But yes, I will be doing that in the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf, free versions of that. But eventually I'm going to dive, like the deeper dive, in paid programs.
Yeah, see, that's going to be powerful. I'm looking forward to that. This has been a really intriguing talk just for me. Believe it or not, it just me getting in your head a little bit on how to even be just a better reader, or what that looks like. Now, if I'll tell you this, if it wasn't for the reading that I did do, it certainly did a couple things. It certainly helps your vocabulary, for one.
Absolutely.
For sure. It does help you have an idea on how to speak, how to, stories tell, facts sell, right? So,
Yep.
Being an effective storyteller has always been kind of well, first of all, you're a coach, so you understand that, right? Stories sell, and now facts will sell. Facts tell, stories sell. The fact is this, or the story going to this point, is what, and the emotions that go with it, or the feeling of I've been there before, just like he has. That's the power of these books, for sure. That's, believe it or not, a book is one of my most fond memories, and I bought myself this book. I went to school in a little place called North Hollywood from 3rd grade. I was at a Lutheran school from 3rd grade to 9th grade. And, in a private school, man, reading was kind of part of it. You were doing a book report every month. You're going to have to pick a book. And right across the street from my school was a library. So we would walk across the street. We would pick books and stuff like that. And it was called the Mad Scientist Club. I still remember it vividly in my head. I was a junior high student, young guy, and it was about these three guys that go on these adventures. So, you got chapter 1 through this is this adventure, and it was the three mad scientists, and they would go through this, and this had become one of my most favorite books. I probably read it 5-6 times as a kid. And then it's funny, as an adult now, I went looking for it and I found it and ordered it for myself so that I can have it at my house, the three mad scientists. And when I read it, it just brought me right back to being in junior high school again. So, that's a little fun fact for those guys that, stuff about me that people may not know as my students and stuff that listen to this. So that's where, books have always kind of been that way with me. It's a love-hate relationship, right? You want to read and then you make up excuses. So this will bring us to the next thing about 75 hard. I've done 75 hard 5 times. Okay. Five different times. And I failed in 3 of them. And I've successfully done phase 1 once, and I haven't went after phase 1 again. But everything I learned from 75 hard, I'm going to ask you. Well, first of all, what made you choose it, and then we'll talk about what I learned through it myself too, because you did a little bit after I've done it for sure.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, before we go into that, I just wanted to say one quote from Cicero. He said, a room without books is like a body without a soul. Right. And that was powerful to me. Like in my home, I have a culture of reading. My wife loves to read. I love to read. Kids develop a passion for reading on the laps of their parents. So I read to my kids. My wife reads to my kids. My son, he's the oldest, reads to his sisters. And it's just a cultural thing in our home, to where we have books everywhere, literally everywhere in the house. There's a book somewhere lying around. So every Sunday we have family reading time, where for an hour we sit down as a family and we all read for an hour. And you pick whatever you want. Sometimes in the evening, if we've had a long day and we want my oldest, who's 13, to go to bed, then it's like books are bedtime. So you either go to bed or you read a book, but you got to be in your room at this point. No technology, so it's like a cultural thing in our home at this point. I just wanted to touch on that since we're moving away from books, but going back to your question.
I think that, well, that's a powerful quote for us, but being a man that puts that ahead of things is in your home. And, that's probably some of my most precious memories is when I used to get to take and put my kids to bed at night and lay with them. And, we would pull something out and read it together and whether it be the Bible or whatever. But, so to hear you guys do that and what you're facilitating will do nothing but, grow strong men and women of the future that are well-informed, something that there's nothing wrong with. So we'll get into more books here though, before the thing, because 75 hard has a lot to do with this.
Yes.
When it comes to me. So what, I had saw when you decided to step onto 75 hard. I know, it took me a while to get Jason Flame to get on and try it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but you know how he is as a man. And once he puts his mind to it, he'll get to it. But I saw a transformation in yourself too. I saw you going through 75 hard. And we got the good, the bad, the ugly about 75 hard. Trust me.
Sure.
I don't know. Did you read the book 75 hard?
I did. I have it right here, annotated, all that good stuff. I love the book. It was actually a powerful book. A lot of you definitely needed an editor in that book, but,
I don't think Andy Frisella gives a rat's
ass.
I just don't think he wants to get that information out and he wants to see people succeed. Yeah. And, he's a pretty raw dude, man. And that's probably why I relate to him so well. Cause if I listen to him, I'm so fired up that it takes me a minute to come down. And there's certain times I can listen to Andy Frisella. Relaxing time is not one of them.
Sure.
So my first book, what changed me was, extreme ownership is what I took on.
Yeah.
For reading on my first 75 hard. And boy, was that. So what I ended up doing with that book is I did my reading, my 10 pages a day with it, but I supplemented my walks when I was doing my second workout listening. I don't know. Have you listened to the audio of that book?
I have not listened to the audio.
Okay,
No.
so I'm telling you right now, Jocko and Leif are the one that do the audio.
Okay.
When you hear them and you hear the passion of what these guys went through in war and stuff like that, it brings a whole new light to extreme ownership. So I read it and listened throughout 75 Hard, and that was super life changing for me. Extreme ownership, because I can't stand people that don't take ownership and stuff that they should. Life would be so much better if that's one thing I learned in 75 Hard. The excuses that people give me, I have such a short fuse from.
Yeah.
Because I did 75 Hard traveling too. So I did it in the dead of winter when I was in Georgia, and I've done it in the heat of summer in Georgia where I'm traveling. So, I had to book myself flights, so I knew that I had to get this workout in, and as soon as I land, there's nothing I can do until I get my workout in, my outdoor, whatever that's going to be. And so, and that's what, believe it or not, in Georgia, that's where a lot of cemetery stuff came in, because I would go on walks in these old cemeteries forever. And so tell me what your experience on 75 Hard and why you decided to try and do it.
So believe it or not, I decided to do 75 Hard because I saw you do it.
No, oh, really? Did you really?
I did. I saw you. I was like, yeah, I met Mark at the Maya Super Show. We were friends on Facebook, and I see what you do. I follow a lot of people, and you're one of the people I follow. And I saw 75 Hard, and I was like, what is this? And I kept seeing it. So then I said, okay, let me see what this is. What is he doing? And I looked it up, and then I said, oh man, like I can do it all, I think, except for the no alcohol for 75 days. Because I love myself a cold beer, on the weekends. I'm not an everyday drinker. Like after work, I'll pop a beer, but I just have like on the weekend, like I don't like to feel like I can't have a couple drinks if I wanted to. And it's not like it's like reserved time to have drinks. And sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. I typically do. So I was like, I don't like that idea of a restriction of that. So, and then there's birthdays or special events or whatever, and I don't want to feel like everybody's having a beer and I can't have one. So that was my deterrent. I said, if they didn't have that, I would do it. But then I said, you know what? As time progressed, I think I saw it for about a year, and I still didn't do it because of that one reason. And then one day I said to myself, if that is what speaks to you as hard, then that is what 75 Hard is going to mean to you. It means you have to overcome that, because for somebody else, it might be the reading component. For somebody else, it might be the physical fitness aspect of it. So for me, it was like, you got to sacrifice not drinking and being on a diet for 75 days. I don't like those two things. So I said, just go for it. Just do it. Don't even think about it. Have the Olympic athlete mindset of like, it doesn't matter how you feel. You just got to get it done no matter what, right? So sure enough, I said, I'm going to do it. But I have to safeguard myself, and I got to find a way to make sure that I won't quit. So I decided to round up a group of 9 other men. So 10 total. And what happened was I started a Facebook group. I got 9 other people. Actually, it was women and men. And we all did it together, and I facilitated the group. So what I would do is I had one extra little detail to the rules. And that rule is that every single day you have to do a post in the group, which is your accountability post, right? That is going to be like, if you miss that post, you can continue 75 Hard. You're just not going to be in the group. So we did that. And of the 10, 5 finished.
That sounds about right.
And 5 quit along the way. And some of them had some really strong reasons. But at the end of the day, a reason is another word for excuse. Because at the end of the day, the only person that reason or excuse matters to is to you. Nobody else cares, and that's what it comes out to. I tell my son that all the time. Like, you can give me a thin shell stuffed with a lie all day, and ultimately it only matters to you. In the real world, when you're in college, when you're in your job, or when you're leading the ship and you own a business and everybody's looking to you, nobody cares about your reasons or excuses. You either get the job done or you don't. So I decided to do 75 hard. I went all in. I completed it from beginning to end. I lost 34 pounds. I was in the best mental state, physical state that I can recall. And I got so excited, so motivated. I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own challenge. So I launched the Conquered Will. You may or may not know about this, but I launched the Conquered Will, and it's a Catholic men's challenge. And it's 15 things you got to do every single day. So it's mind, body, spirit. And I did it for 67 days as opposed to 75. And the reason why it's 67 is because the average time it takes, based on statistics, that it takes for somebody to create and install a new habit is 66 days. So I did 67 days. And that's kind of the idea there. I completed that one. This is the certificate you get when you complete it. Obviously, this is my own, but I got some other people to do it with me. And of the people that did it with me, I think most finished, but not all. I also have a challenge coin that I created very similar to 75 Hard. This is the logo of the company.
That's awesome.
The Conquered Will. And on the back here is the coat of arms, if you could see that.
Yeah.
It says Catholic Men's Challenge up top. It says Ephesians 6. Ephesians 6 is the Bible verse that inspired it. As I was praying in my daily morning routine and doing things, and I was inspired and excited about 75 Hard and the results I got, Ephesians 6 spoke to me, which is, wearing the full armor of God in spiritual warfare. And in order for us to conquer each and every single day, we got to suit up in the right attire and be ready to fight that we all battle internally in our mind, our body, our soul. And that's really what it was all about. I saw like a gap in the Catholic Church that men are so lukewarm in general these days.
Well, yeah, of course they are, because masculinity is on attacked.
In general, yeah, it's not even just a Catholic thing; it's just men in general. But I mean, in the Catholic Church, I saw that, and so I decided to start this challenge, and very soon I'll be launching it as an actual program, an official program. I got the people that did it, I got it filmed, testimonials of them completing it, and all that good stuff. So I'm excited about it. But fast forwarding, June 11th, I'm starting phase 1 of 75 Hard.
June 11th, you will be in phase 1. Have you done the cold showers yet?
I included that in the Conquered Will, so I'm used to that now. I actually continue doing it.
That was the one thing that everybody was like, once I started cold showers, I don't end showers anymore without them. You know what I mean? It's just something now that's part of me. And it's funny, what the hardest thing for me, 75 Hard, believe it or not, was drinking a gallon of water. Now, if it was drinking a gallon of coffee, that would have been easy. But drinking a gallon of water was brutal, right? And that was probably the hardest challenge part for me. And when I did 75 Hard, and I've had the same thing that you have, where you get people on board and people are super excited for you, and then 20 days down the road, you'll hear this, right? I'm sure you heard it. Oh, you still doing that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still doing that thing. And then on day 50, nobody gives a rat's ass what you're doing. Yeah. You're in it for the fight all by yourself. That's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. You are in the fight. But I don't know, did Jason Flame do this thing that you did, that you talk about?
No, the Conquered Will is something that I launched unofficially. I just did it with a group of 10 other men that I knew locally in the area, and I just got them together and I said, I'm going to create this challenge, and I created this sheet here. That's actually this is like the basic paper version, but there's like a formal sheet here, and it has like reading 30 minutes a day, refraining from internet usage as often as you can, unnecessary internet usage. You have to have a morning evening routine, refrain from non-essential purchases, 1 hour workout a day, only 1 hour workout a day, commit to a diet, no alcohol, no junk food, same concept. Waking up at 5 a.m., praying the rosary, 10 minutes of reading the Bible, 10 minutes of journaling every day, 10 minutes of silent prayer, saving 10% of your income. So it has a lot to it. But no, Jason did not do it because I never officially launched it. It was just like a test trial run with some people to get some testimonials out of them and to say I did it. And now I'm going to eventually launch it soon, very soon.
Yeah, I would see something that now, not being Catholic, being Christian, but
Yeah.
there's really I don't really think that's going to matter at this point. If I see where you're going through that. So when you get ready, I bet you Jay and we'd hop on that bandwagon. We'd try it out. We'd see
Very
what's up.
nice. I would
You know what
love
I
it.
mean?
Open
You know
door.
what I mean? I don't, nothing bothered me more that when I failed on, 75 hard, but I'll be honest with you, there's a couple times I did it because other people were doing it. So I didn't really have a real why I'm doing things. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and then you can do 75 hard. I've done 75 hard where I succeeded it. Yes. But it's called, it's phoning it in, and you're phoning it in. You're not giving 100%. You're doing A, B, C, D, E, and you're just kind of doing A, B, C, D, E every day. And so one of my completions, even though you hear me say I've 3 out of the 5 I completed, one of them was just phoned in. I did everything that was asked of me, but 2 of them were serious, man. I wouldn't miss a beat. And those times were when it was just about me. It wasn't about a group. It wasn't about anything else. As a matter of fact, one of them I started, I didn't even tell anybody. You know what I mean? When my partner Jay Walker and I first started 75 hard, him and I did it together the very first time. I didn't tell anybody until 30 days in, because I just don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? I don't want, oh, good job or nothing like that, man. This is for me. And I'm going to dig down deep, and I'm going to see what I can do and push myself to that limit. And, life does get in the way, and excuses do get in the way. That's where extreme ownership comes into play. If you're going to quit, just take ownership of it. Okay. I can't do it.
Yep.
Don't give me your excuses. I don't, because I couldn't finish. You're going to get more respect from me. And I think that's the biggest lessons I've learned as I put this off to my children now, and my students now, is your excuses get you nowhere. Own your stuff. And in life, the stress that will come off you is major. And I think even extreme ownership, I guess when I was a younger guy and had credit problems or whatever, and a creditor would call, I'd be yelling and screaming at the lady on the other end. Well, whose fault is it that it's my fault? It's not her fault. I'm the one that has a bill pay. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'll tell you this story, and these everybody that's on here can hear this just yesterday. This just happened yesterday when I got off the plane. So I had been traveling, man, for hours, and then we got stuck in Chicago because there's live animals and the air conditioner wasn't working right. What's the live animals you think they have to take off? They're freaking chickens. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. We're on an hour delay because of chickens, and people are flying chickens. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'm already kind of irritated, and I'm already a day behind. So I have to go pick up my car. It's been there for 7 days. I prepaid. I called in yesterday and I said, hey, my flight was canceled. Go ahead, Mr. Cox, come on in. We'll give you the same rate. And so I got there, and that guy wasn't there, and it was a female that was there. And she goes, I'm sorry, it's going to be $21 for the day. I said, listen, it was $8.95 a day. You're going to charge me 3 times the amount of money. I said, I was so pissed off. And then I continued doing what being an ass is basically what I was doing. And then finally it just kind of clicked in my head. What are you doing? Why are you yelling at her? She has nothing to do with this. Right. And so I just kind of left and went and got my car, put my stuff in. And then I'm like, I'm gonna have to go back. I left. I actually drove, and I'm driving, and I'm like, God, I'm gonna have to go back and apologize to her because it's just not right. I can't be that way. I can't be teaching one thing and living a life different ways. So I hooked a U-turn around, and right next to this Joe's Parking is a Subway and a Coffee Bean. And so I went into Subway and I got a $10 gift card, and I went back into her and I said, hey, I got to take ownership of that. You had nothing to do with me being late for a day, and I'm taking it out on you. And the manager's not here. I said, so your next lunch or dinner, this is on me. And I handed her a card, and you could just see the whole demeanor in her just change, because when I'm walking in, I'm already intimidating looking, right? And then I'm pissed off. And then I just saw the relief on her face, and I was like, man, what a jackass I was, man. And so the whole ride home, man, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you reading all this stuff and then acting the way you are? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so this is where 75 hard and ownership comes into play with me. And so I saw your journey on that too. And I was like, yeah, man, he got to it. And, cause if you said you watch around, so that, I'm 100 plus pounds lighter than what I used to be.
Oh yeah.
And,
dramatic change. I was very impressed.
And so, it's been, it takes me back when you say that, you were watching my journey, because there's a whole slew of them that did it in Georgia also, just off that. And the impact that a single book and a single act that you do, how it can impact people for a long time, a lifetime. I'm sure there's habits that you've kind of, reading wasn't an issue for you on 75 hard, I'm sure. I'm not sure how following a diet, I've been on keto for so long that following a ketogenic diet is what I do every day. So that's not really an issue. Drinking water, keeping a gallon of water down on me every day, that just, when I'm not on 75 hard, that is not something I do.
Yeah.
And doing workouts, outdoor workouts have always been kind of a pain in the ass. You got to wait in the early mornings or whatever it is, late at night. So there's times that, I don't know, did you ever run into times where you didn't get it done and it's 1-2 o'clock in the morning and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go do this?
Yeah, I actually had in my mind, I'm not going to go into the next day. I'm going to do it before midnight. So in the group that I was a part of, I said, if you're going to be in this group, then you have to complete your everything before midnight, the day of. So that's just the extra little thing I put in there, because I didn't want to have to sit up until who's going to still be in it the next day. I didn't want to do all that and monitor people. So I said, as long as by midnight you're in, then you're in. If 12:01 hits and you didn't do your post and you didn't do what you had to do, then in the morning you're just not going to be in the group. You're going to be removed. And I said, no hard feelings. I still love you, but that's what it was going to be, right? And but to your point that you were making just a few seconds right before that, you were talking about how people started, doing 75 hard because they saw you. As a leader, we don't have office hours. Like it's literally, you're at it all the time, and you just never know who's paying attention. And I remember when I was doing 75 hard, I had so many random people tell me I inspired them, that they decided to do something that changed. They decided to start working out. Some people decided to even do 75 hard because they saw me doing it. And then nobody said anything. These people didn't say anything in the process, but they were watching silently. And it's crazy because, like, even sometimes these people that are watching you are even in your own home. It could be your son, your daughter, it could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be whoever you have that is close to you, that is hoping and praying and wanting you to win. And you don't want to let those people down because you were lazy one day, or because you had an unfortunate situation, or because you let the ants take over, the automatic negative thoughts that we all have every single day, constantly, the spiritual warfare that we talk about. That's really what it comes down to. So it's a constant battle in life, but especially when you add 75 hard to your plate.
Right. And very, very profound words. 100%. I find myself in that dichotomy quite often and you're right. I definitely would be, seeing, let's see what Jay just put. Watching a 7-day journey has solidified my decision after watching Mr. Cox do it. That's from Jay. So I guess Jay did it after you, huh? He watched you too, right? So he's been watching me, and then he had to watch you, and then he did it. Yeah. Well, once Jay puts his mind to it, man, Jay ain't gonna quit, man. That's just not. It's not in his nature.
He's a warrior. I've been watching his journey. He's a warrior.
Yeah. He might. He fell out on phase 1 by forgetting something, and I fell out of 75 hard one time because I forgot to snap a picture. I'm like, what the?
Oh man,
are you kidding me? And I'll never forget that. I'm like, you got to be kidding! I mean, we're talking about day 48 or something crazy, and I'm like, oh, you idiot! And, and I didn't have the app at the time. Once you have the app, it's a little bit easier.
Right.
But I think that, leadership has been, I was talking about how I first saw you before we got online is about when you were out to be, I guess you were a speaker in Texas at a school that was doing a big summit of some sort.
Right.
So is that with EFC? Is that what you're doing now with? Do you do a lot of consulting with other studios?
Yeah. So I started out working at EFC. Day 23, I forgot the journal before bed. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Let me tell you something. We could have a whole podcast with all my men that are close to me that's done, and women that's done 75 hard.
Yeah.
And we are going to find the same type of stuff together like no other, for sure. That would be fun to do.
My wife was pregnant, I think with our fourth child at that time, or fourth, one of those two. And I'm pretty sure it was the fourth. And she was due like 2 days before I was done with 75 hard. And she scheduled to be in the hospital. That was what they were going to do because she's had a couple of births that happened prematurely. So they were going to kind of put her in the hospital early. And I was like, and then because of COVID, they said, by the way, if you're in the hospital, you can't leave. If you leave, then you can't come back in, even if your child is born. So I was in a really tough spot. I told my wife, listen, I am not going to fail 75 hard, under these conditions. So I said, hopefully, let's just pray that our child comes after day 75, because if not, I don't know if I'm going to be in the room with you. And obviously that was a big no-no. She was not happy about that idea. So she was praying with me that, everything would work out. And sure enough, the day of 75 hard, I finished it. And the next day my baby came. So
that's God's timing, babe. That is God's timing. His timing is always spot on and on point, whether it's good or bad. For sure. So that's these kind of stories I hear all the time. It's been a whirlwind of successes. When I saw the difference in your body. Even in phase 1, I did some before and after pictures of phase 1 when I did it, and I always felt a little bit better when I was on 75 hard. Believe it or not, and I didn't really drink at all. I might have a whiskey here or two when I was flying, but that was about it. I never really drank as it was, but I've never taken a drink after 75 hard, period, because I can't. In my head, I'm like, oh, man, how many burpees is this? This is how in my head, this is how I kind of okay, this is how many calories this is. How many burpees is this? This is why I tell everybody who's trying to diet. If you want an Oreo cookie, that's 50 calories for that one little tiny and full of sugar. That's going to cost you about 55 burpees. Is that worth the cookie? Right. And, so, doing things like that has been, instrumental. And you see Jay too, man. Jay's out there freaking getting it, humping it, getting things done and motivating his base also. And, we watched you go out and do it, and you got your own base out there that you're doing it. We were, I was out there rooting for you too, going, man, let's get it. And, so it was awesome. I'm just looking right now. Is that a Hulk shirt you're wearing?
This is Mike Tyson.
Oh, that's Mike Tyson. Well, he looks like the freaking Hulk anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been looking at it going, this guy looks like a freaking beast. Does he wear the Hulk today?
This is Mike Tyson at 53 or whatever he is right now.
Yeah, that's right. He's just, listen, he's a whole nother beast himself. And some of his interviews, if you talk about Mike Tyson or somebody, if you catch some of his interviews right now, that man's still battling his demons for sure. I've always loved that man, and I could see him battling, so it's been great. So I want, before we end this thing, as we get wrapping down, I want to know what you think, because, let's talk about your entrepreneur your
Entrepreneur
group.
Real
Okay.
quick, Mark, before we go on, I didn't even answer your question really quick. EFC, I started out there as a coach. I was coaching martial arts schools. I had like a book of business of about 120 schools that I was coaching. So if and let's say you own a school, you do own a school. Let's say I started with you. You're making 5,000. I teach you how to go to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 and scale your business, right? All the business systems, how to answer the phone, what to do, how to enroll people, all that stuff, right? A to Z. I started out as a business coach 5 years ago there, and then I did really well, helped a lot of schools grow. I started going to events as a vendor for EFC. We're a third-party billing company. We were founded in 1967, 52 plus years of business, and we have thousands of clients globally at this point in different countries. And we've been doing conventions and summits for some time now. We just had our Empower Summit with Boss Rutan as our keynote speaker back in June, I think. Earlier this year. And that was phenomenal. It was a global summit, so we were in different countries, and it was pretty cool. And anyway, and then I got promoted after about 3 years and some change being there. I got promoted to sales director. So now I'm pretty much everything sales in the U.S. territory, from our Budo Code app, a martial arts app for your school, to Abby AI, which is the most recent acquisition that we acquired as a company under our umbrella BFC. It's a web design lead generation company by the guy who built 97 Display 11 years ago is the guy who built this Abby AI, which is backed by artificial intelligence. So we're excited about that. We're helping clients grow with that. And then we also have, of course, our billing system, our billing software, full service tuition. So that means that we call your students, we collect the money through emails, texts, phone calls, letters in the mail, that whole thing. And we just charge a percentage of your business by doing all of that for you. And then we have our software that's about to release finally called TAP. It's a total accountability partner. We have another software that we've been using for years, but this is the newest thing that we've been kind of developing under the hood for the last 4 years. Which is going to be on the market very soon. And I think it was actually last year it was in the Maya Super Show, or 2 years ago it was at the Maya Super Show, but still hasn't rolled out, but it's about to roll out finally. And anyway, so as you can see, EFC is like the Swiss Army knife of the martial arts world, excuse me. And I'm just a sales guy there doing everything on the sales front. So to answer your question.
So you're still with them then at this, you've been with them for how long? 15 years, you say?
No, like five plus years, something like that.
5+ years now?
Yeah.
Being consulting?
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's where I think I first saw you. We talked about that, where you were at that one martial arts school. They had you probably out as a speaker for.
Yeah, I was there as a vendor. But I've done speaking gigs here and there. The one you're referencing is the one at the Grandmaster Zolfi's event in Texas. He did a MATS event where he had martial arts school owners come from all over, and I spoke at that event and some others, here and there.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, let's talk about let's end where how people can find you or be part of your group. Is your group open to everybody?
Yes. So the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf is designed and created. It's a community specifically for entrepreneurs who love to read books and are committed to personal growth. So if that is you, then you definitely need to be in that group. I do pretty much a lot of different things in there. I'd say about 95% of the people in that group actually own a business, and the other 5% are aspiring entrepreneurs. But the majority are existing entrepreneurs from all different backgrounds and different types of businesses. So it's a great place to network. It's also a really good place to find out about other books. I do book breakdowns in there where, for example, I did one on 75 Hard. So I'll read the book, I'll digest it, I'll take 30%, I'll extract it, and I'll deliver it to you in a video and kind of say, hey, these are the 3 main biggest points I took from the book that I think you should be aware of. And I put links and stuff in there as well. Not really a book review, but a book breakdown, which is a little bit different. Not a thorough review. It's just like the 3 main things I took from it with some little tidbits that you should know about. I also do a daily book for my library. So, for example, I'll just pull this one here, Stephen King's On Writing. People know him as the guy who writes scary books, but he's also talks about in this book, this is a nonfiction book, on how to be an effective writer. So every day I'll post a picture, Jose's book off the shelf, where I'll post a picture of a book in my library. I have a little over 1,000 books in my personal library. It's always growing. For every book I read, I buy like 3 to 5. And I'll just share different books with you because the more exposure you have to different books, you'll be like, ooh, I want to get that, or I never knew that existed. That's a cool book. So I do that kind of stuff. I of course put like daily marginalia. So I'll pull a random book and something that I read today. I'll say, hey, I'll do a little video and I'll teach you something on a daily book that I read. So there's a lot going on in the group. I highly recommend you guys join the group. It's the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf. Just look for it in the Facebook group. I guess we'll put a link somewhere and go from there.
Yeah. So when I once this is live now, but then what I will do, I also make this audio so it goes onto my podcast. So you'll be able to share out the audio portion of it too, because some people just can't watch. And you'll have your own little on my website, markcox.com. You'll have your about yourself, and then I'll have all your links in there, how people can go to your Facebook page.
You guys can find me, Jose Escobar, on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, JAEsco25 on Instagram, at JAEsco25. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. I'm rarely on LinkedIn and Twitter, but you'll find me there anyway. I'm primarily on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. And then you can always check out the entrepreneursbookshelf.com, which I'm about to have a newsletter you can subscribe to as well. And look out for the upcoming morning and evening routine mastery digital course, which is launching very soon.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to all that. I think this is super informative to me. I'm going to push this out pretty hard to get people to have a better understanding of the reading and what it can do for you. Throughout whether you're a leader in your business, even if you're a worker for somebody else and you're trying to reach to the next level, whatever that may be. I think that finding the right book to guide you in that direction would be, it'd be powerful. So I think I'm going to let you end us with a thought that you have that you want to motivate others to, whether it's reading or life itself. I'll let you end this on your watch.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I would highly encourage everybody, if you don't like to read or you don't read, it's because you haven't found the right book. It's plain and simple. As far as the ability to sit down and read, I understand some of us get distracted. I get distracted. I don't read as fast as my wife reads. She reads really fast. I read pretty slow. And in addition to the fact that I read slow, I also read even slower because I'm doing a lot of annotating and highlighting and underlining. So it takes me some time. But the key is discipline. The key is habits. The key is commitment, follow through. That is all it takes to become a reader. Just like somebody who says, I can't work out. I'm not a working out kind of guy. I'm not good at working out. I don't have find the inspiration to get the job done. It's not motivation, because Zig Ziglar said it best, that motivation is like taking a shower. It only lasts a day, right? So it's not about getting motivated, because that takes a lot of work and energy, and you're dependent upon somebody motivating you or some external factor. You got to be intrinsically inspired. You got to be inspired from within. And that is an inside job. And only you can do that, right? Others can inspire you, but you have to have that desire, that passion to read, to commit to reading, and to do it every day. Make it a non-negotiable. Don't have reading as something that if I get around to it, it's not going to get done. It has to be a priority, a top priority. If I'm going to buy a new jacket or a new book, you better believe I'm going to have a used jacket and a new book. So it's very important to understand the value of of a book. Keep in mind, there's a quote from Mark Twain, and I might say it wrong, but he said something to the effect of, you're no better than a person who can't read if you don't read. So you have to make sure that you are putting time each and every single day into the intellect, into the mind, to sharpen the axe every single day, and to keep going back to that tree and keep axing away at that tree until it's done. Don't pick up 10 books and not finish 10 books. Pick up one book and don't drop that book until it's done, even if it's 2 minutes a day. Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about, if you want to start getting into the habit of flossing, and you just can't seem to get into the habit of consistency of flossing, start with one tooth every night. And then you go to 2, and then you go to 3, and then you just do the top row. And eventually you graduate to the bottom row, and eventually you're flossing every single day. And it's just a part of what you do. Same thing applies with a book. Number one, find the right book. Number two, start small. Start with one paragraph every single night. Start with one page. And then you keep progressing and progressing and progressing. And before you know it, if you're at 30 minutes a day, if you're at 45 minutes a day, you're reading one book a week. That's my take.
That's awesome. Those are great words to end with. This was super informative for me, just so you know. I thoroughly enjoyed getting your wisdom on that, and I'll take some of this. I'll be ordering books today. I wrote 2 of them down, The Miracle Morning and The 5 a.m. Club. I think I'm going to order both of those today as soon as we get off, and the 5 a.m. Club does kind of intrigue me. I'm kind of an early morning person, but I've never committed to get up at 5. But I would like that, just so you know. I kind of like the world at that time where it's kind of just waking up and I do a lot of reading outside. I like, I got one of those heaters outside in my patio. Yep. That's what I like to do. And so I'm looking forward to that. So this has been a good hour, Jose. We'll get you blasted out on all your social media. I'll have the audio done before the end of day. I'll send you stuff on Facebook Messenger on how to not leak it out, but how to share it. Leak sounds political. How to share it with your base, the audio version, and you can go ahead and on my Facebook, whether it's on the Real Talk with Mark Cox or my Mark Cox 100. It'll also be on my website at markcox.com. Both the audio and the video will be on those, and you'll be able to share it with all your people. And why don't you keep Jay and I posted on that? Jay, if you're still online, I'm sure you're up for that challenge that he has. I think you and I could Conquered Will. I think you and I could do that together. It'd be fun to see because that's pretty it's pretty intriguing to me anyway. So you got a little spiritual aspect of it there. So right. Days are always better with Jesus. I could tell you that.
Amen.
So, all right. It was awesome. It was awesome time. Thanks you again, Jose. We'll talk real soon, man. Bye-bye.
All right.